What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Player One vs. the World StrangeCast. I'm one of your hosts, Adnan. I'm joined by my co-host, Adam. Adam, you're here. How are you?
I'm here. I'm present. I am playing the Xbox game. You know, it's just like it is what it is. We're champions out here. But how are you doing?
I'm very good, man. I kind of fast forward that introduction because there's a big episode ahead. Very big episode. If you've been listening to our show, we were basically planning out to do two review segments for this month, which are going to include the Life Is Strange Remastered collection. We're going to do Life Is Strange 1 as a separate episode, and we'll be doing BTS as another episode. And for context as well, the show's going to be going through a bit of a reformat in the next couple of weeks/months in terms of we're going to move away from Zoom. We record these on Zooms and the audio is not the best. We've had some people ask us to kind of like explore other places, and obviously I love feedback, and we've kind of talked about it, and we feel like it's best as well because we put so much investment into the show. It's best to kind of move on from this platform. So I'm going to let Adam talk first in a minute because I feel like I want to give him the floor first, because I usually just ramble off about Life is Strange 1. And as you've probably seen, this title, I imagine, is going to be spoilers. We're going to go through the full thing. Life is Strange Remastered collection to be out for, the actual games in the Remastered collection to be out for a long time. But before I let Adam talk, I played this on PlayStation 5, and Adam played it on Xbox X, Xbox One X.
Xbox One X. So it's like in between the previous gen and this gen. So it's like that weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So before I let him talk as well, we're going to go through some news which was released by the Life is Strange Twitter page, Facebook page. And so 4 days ago, we're recording on Monday. This will be out on Wednesday, hopefully. They posted, "We are aware that players have been running into some bugs whilst playing the Life is Strange Remastered collection, and want to assure you that we are looking into all reports and working hard on upcoming patches. You can expect to see a patch roadmap in an upcoming blog soon. For now, we are happy to share preliminary details, fixes for crashes experienced in BTS are EP1 on PS4 are submitted for testing and will be deployed in a patch once they are approved. From approval to release, this will take several working days. A fix has also been submitted for the visible subtitle strings / missing subtitle issue. Oh God. On all platforms and will be deployed once it is tested and approved. A temporary workaround is to change your subtitle language in the pause, go into the setting menu and then change it back. I didn't know that actually, but there you go. Discolored character shaders in BTS Remaster Collection. A fix has been identified and is undergoing testing for a second patch. In the meantime, exit and restart the game to fix the issue. We can also confirm that a 60 frames per second mode will be coming to Life is Strange Remastered for PS5 and Xbox Series X in a later patch. So that's one update that they gave. And before we jumped onto this actual episode, they released another one. So they put new patches are available for Life is Strange Remastered on PlayStation and Steam, containing a global fix to subtitles displaying incorrectly PlayStation and Steam in brackets, and the first fixes to lighting and contrast in darker areas. We did confirm that it's not on Xbox yet. Adam was looking because he just finished episode 5 before we came on here, so his memory is very fresh on all the things that have been happening. Yeah. I finished all 5 episodes a couple of days ago. And in this as well, they put we'll be sharing a patch roadmap for further patches for the collection over the next few days. However, we can confirm that stability fixes for Before the Storm Remastered on PS and now in submission. We'll update you on the release timings for that patch when we have them, etc., etc. So that is just a quick update that we've got on the Remastered collection. Obviously, you probably have your own opinions on this. It's going to be a beefy episode, but like I said, I will give Adam the floor. Adam, I'm going to let you take it first.
Okay, so very first thing I'll say is that, again, I played on previous gen Xbox, and for the first 4 episodes, I didn't experience really any bugs, anything. Like all these people were talking about T-posing, Max, they were talking about the subtitles. They were even talking about, and even you got this, you played on PlayStation, you cannot rewind this further, and that's a stayed on. None of that for me. I didn't get any T-posing. The subtitles worked just fine. I never got that stuck thing. I never even really got like game crashes. My game never crashed. So for me, my perspective was like, wow, this is a pretty well-polished remaster. Like, and I'm not saying it was perfect. Like there was definitely some like kinks in there. Like every once in a while, there were some loading screens. I was like, oh, okay. But in terms of a remaster, on my perspective, I was like, oh, it's fine. But I would go on Twitter and Adnan, he would DM me like, what is this crap? What is this? Blimey. It's just like, it's bloody hell. It's all this stuff. I can't do anything, but I don't know. I just didn't see anything. But for me, I played this through and I had a lot of fun. I thought the facial animations were just top tier, top class, if you will, and it was really a well-rounded playthrough. And then the last thing I'll say, I did mention episodes 1 through 4 were not that bad for me. Episode 5, which I just beat because this weekend I was just working a lot. I couldn't even play at all. So I just beat it. Episode 5 was just a massive buggy mess to the point where I almost just gave up. Like I almost texted you, Adnan, and just been like, you know what? I'm not even going to beat this. Like I'm just not, because one, a glitch, it froze at some point, like halfway through the game. And then I quit the game, restarted it. And it took me to like near the beginning of the episode. I was like, what? I was like, I was so sad. And then there was one point I texted you that like I got stuck in the time loop. You probably got in the same time loop stuck.
Which one was this? You got stuck
in front of the 2 whales, the one I texted you?
No, so I got stuck in the one, is it before 2 whales? It's where you have to flip the switch. And the guy can get electrocuted. There, I got stuck. It's like she just kept rewinding.
Area.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
in the same area. And I got stuck in like a time loop where I like rewound time, but it wouldn't go back. I'm like, okay. And then even worse, there were 2 scenes, very important scenes, where the sound it cut off. It cut off. One being like on the beach, and like with the storm coming in, and no sound whatsoever, just captions, which my captions work just fine. And then the second scene is when I inevitably sacrifice Chloe. And so like that scene following, and I had Chloe shot, it is what it is, Pompidou over Bay. But that whole scene, no sound. Music played, thankfully, but no sound. It was crazy. So fine for me up until episode 5. That's where I'll end it at.
Yeah, it's like I said, I know that there's been such a very, very divided view on the collection, and like I'm trying to move my biases aside in terms of like where I stand on certain things. Yeah, it's very mixed, and I feel like I'm going to kind of start on the point where this is actually going to be towards my final point that I'm going to put, but I'm going to move it to the front, which is so like there were some people like kind of saying that they, that Square Enix are really distancing themselves from Dontnod's games, and like they wouldn't celebrate the 7-year anniversary on their Twitter feed and stuff. It's like it's a weird number, 7. You don't really celebrate 7. You celebrate 1, 5, 10. You go in numerical order like that. It's kind of like to do that. And even Dontnod only, I think, recently acknowledged 7-year anniversary. It's just not it's not necessarily a date that's kind of like sticking out for a 7-year anniversary. Yeah. So that was really my issue. But what I kind of got was when I got to the 7-year anniversary, I was like, so where I stood on this game was basically this should have been released 3 years from now on the 10-year anniversary. It shouldn't be called Life Is Strange Collection, because for me that only kind of sends a more negative message about Life Is Strange 2, because they clearly don't. They seem to have squashed it so much in terms of like
3 years from now they could have remastered the second one. Yeah,
exactly. So like in terms of like that's where my position is on like Life Is Strange 2, where I think like Square Enix just doesn't really disregards it compared to the Max and Chloe story arc. It should be released 3 years from now as Life Is Strange Remastered : the Arcadia Bay collection. So you basically have the suffix, or you have the Max and Chloe story, whatever you want to make it. I'm going there as that kind of person, think he's smart or whatever. But it should have been that. It should have been built for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and Nintendo Switch, with a port version that goes to PS4 and Xbox One and the older consoles, because that in itself makes a big issue for me. Why are we getting a remaster for a game that is on the exact same platform? It was made for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, all those, and it was ported onto the old consoles as well. Yeah. I'm not one of those purists who say, why are we remastering things? I'm sorry, if you've not seen the gaming industry for many, many years, you've opened this floodgate. You wanted one remaster, you get a million now. It's just the way that the game works. Like, that's how the industry works. But for me, that was where I saw this, because this is like that in himself. My argument sums it up, because that's where I sit on it. It's almost like a beautiful mess. This a little bit, because it's like it was a good experience in terms of like, I played it again. I remember how great the game is. Like, and even Ashley Birch, like, I forgot how good her performance is. Like, Jesus Christ, she's so
Actually,
good.
without an E.
Without an E, which I think you'll probably notice that in the BTS credits, some of you. So I enjoyed it, and obviously the facial animations are outrageously good. That was like, as I said before, lip syncing was a huge issue, but the amount of like things that are happening on it, like my kind of summary would be, I wouldn't have bought this if I wasn't doing this podcast, this channel. I just wouldn't have paid for the money for it. I would have waited for it to drop a lot, because like it's fatally flawed. It's got so many littered with bugs. It's so many bugs, and like
especially if you play on PlayStation, it's insane. Yeah.
I hit one every single way, like, and I'm seeing like every single way. Like I thought I was going crazy at one point, in which I only looked through the Facebook comments and someone actually said what I said. So like in the ending scene of the first episode, where Max and Chloe are standing there at the lighthouse and everything's going on, it reverts back to the original. So you lose all the remaster of it. It just completely changed. I remember watching it. It's like, you see Max's face all updated and stuff. Then it just cuts and he's like, goes back to the original one. I'm like, hang on a minute. What's going on there? So it's like that.
Let me ask you then. So from my playthrough, just to give a ratio of like what I said in terms of my bugs, I want to get your ratio. I would say between like 15 and 15%. I would say 15 to 20% was like buggy, right, in some sort of fashion. But I would steer towards my being like 15% of my game through was buggy. What would you say your percentage was?
Probably in the full playthrough, maybe 25, 30%, if not more.
25, 30. Yeah. That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of issues, including, I think even like if some of you play it, like there were lines that appeared around the boxes, like static lines, like TV.
That's the other glitch I didn't get. I didn't get those lines. What I got? So when my lines, I forgot to take a picture for you. I'm sorry. But my lines, if I'm doing this box right here, so there'll be lines like around this corner of the screen, but it'd be almost like a light kind of effect. It was like a light effect, but then that translated well for the Xbox, but apparently for the PlayStation, you got like these glitchy little weird broken lines. I was like, oh man, that sucks, because I got lines, but they were light effects. Yeah,
like as I said, like if you're watching on YouTube now, you'll see the video boxes that were in, like on the right hand side where I'm pointing now, there's like a line that had come across. I think when I was in Dave Madsen's garage. Dave Madsen, in Chloe's garage, there's like one here, and then in later scene, the bottom line appeared, and it was so weird, like seeing those. I was like, it detracts from the experience for me. Like as soon as I see little things like that, apologies about that, when you see like little things like that pop up, they kind of ruin the experience for me. And like I think like for me as well, I see like there's a really nasty part of the community where they basically just want to shit on Deck 9 for every opportunity. I think if you're one of those people, you really are a horrible person. I don't ever want you on my channel or anywhere near it, because I'm calling them out because it's like these people are still developers at the end of the day. And we always know that there's a developer who started this series. Like everyone loves Dontnod's game. They set the precedent with Life Is Strange, but these people are just like slating the hell out of them. And it's like they don't even think about like the fact that there was a pandemic going on. So in terms of, I know this is not defending like them putting out a shoddy product. I'm saying like there's a pandemic going on. They had to change True Colors development. That obviously changed quite a lot. At the same time, the studio is making The Expanse as well with Telltale, which we found out recently. They're obviously getting piled on with this to make the remaster collection. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. And I think like from a strategy point, like Square Enix to launch this product, the state that it's in, this is like the biggest whiff here for me, where I was like, right, this is one of the many issues that happen. And you'll see as this episode goes on, I've kind of structured the episode around Michel's tweets, which you'll see he's given very interesting perspectives and very good perspectives as well. And I don't think in any way, shape or form his tweets can ever be seen as a bad kind of way. He is the co-director on the original game, and I think it's just, I like seeing his perspective of what he's actually said about certain things, and he's agreed, disagreed, and it's really, as I said, very enlightening. So we'll kind of run you through those if you haven't seen them. But yeah, generally speaking, this was my problem with it. So it's like I'm enjoying the facial animations. It's so lovely. Some of them, like some of the scenes are just like so great, and even like some of the scenes when they like you look at what they've actually done to some of the scenes, the lighting, the textures, and like it works. But then other scenes it doesn't. It's like they've upped the resolution in one scene, and then like in a moment Max might lean her face in the side and it goes dark, but then the lighting hasn't impacted it. And it just seems like there's always like a one or two issues that's like spliced into every other scene. It's like, hang on a minute, this is kind of like really distracting. I think like if you go to the scene with like, where you spill Frank's beans, it's great. It looks so good in the remaster. It looks really good in the remaster. But then there's like other scenes where in like episode 5, when you like, just like, oh, there's so many little bugs and stuff. And we've only played the first game.
Me and you haven't touched before the storm yet.
And we know there's certain things that have changed, including even like the coloring and like the before the storm logo on the main menu. They've changed that, and we know other little things as well because we've seen people tweet about it. But we'll bring in other Life is Strange 1 stuff into that conversation when we get to it. We kind of wanted to just address this animal because it's quite big. But yeah, it just felt that it's just that because, as I said, big shout out to the animation crew. The people who in the motion capture team were wonderful. The web was on R&D. I can't remember who the actual motion capture director was for this. It's a woman. I do apologize about that, but she was brilliant. We've had Anastasia came back for her. She did some of the facial animations for it. And a lot of other people came back for it. Megan Elizabeth Kelly, DeVries, like they all came back for it. And it does show as well. It really makes some of those scenes really like impactful. But, and I feel like I've really addressed the other issues, some of the changes they made. But like that was for me the highlight. If anything out of the package, it was the big issue that me as the reviewer in 2015 as I was, literally in every single review I was writing, lip sync, and like, highlighting it repeatedly. And even Dontnod tried to fix it, but they just couldn't because they didn't do facial capture. They only did the motion capture, body motion capture with all the actors. So like that was the issue that they addressed it. But we bring in all these other issues that come into it. I'm like, oh.
Even artist direction that they kind of like took on their own, not even just glitches, but the artist direction where you'll probably get into some of the tweets with Michel Koch saying like, we did that on purpose.
Yeah, he's an incredible artist. He's an incredible artist. And his art style is very distinct. So for example, I'm going to take you back to the first scene. First episode. When you leave the Blackwell for the first time, you've done all the original stuff. You walk out, it looks quite nice in certain places, but if you walk all the way to the end and then just watch it, you see like the kind of distance to try and build the school. And it's like, they've got track and field and stuff. In the track and field on the right hand side, there's like little blobs running, which is meant to be like actual people, but it's like little blobs. I was watching it, I was like, this is an example where the distinct art style for a game that's basically only 7 years old, that's only been remastered on the same console, that you basically moved from Unreal Engine 3 to 4 as part of this. You haven't really been able to address those kind of issues because like they built it in such a certain aesthetic. It makes it hard because like I think the mind and vision of Square Enix was to make this like True Colors, because like True Colors looks very, it's like it's got the aesthetic of like a like almost like a, quote unquote current gen game, like, the building up, like kind of like, oh, look at it's like motion capture and stuff like this. And then there's this distinct art style, but it's not as distinct as the Dontnod style because they were obviously doing it. And I think like if you watch some of the director's commentary, Michel's very specific about certain things that he says in there. It's been a long time since I've seen that, but he was very specific about the way that they did certain things. Yeah. So you spot about that. And that's where the big issue is. So basically you're enhancing certain things. And it's weird because like, you think back, Adam, the episode before this one was about, should we be worried about a Life is Strange Remastered collection? And you even brought up Definitive Trilogy of GTA and some of the issues they had when they upscaled resolution, everything. And then all the other issues that started to kind of appear because you're basically changing a lot. And like for me, I've always said that the benchmark is Blue Point Games for remasters. They're just unbelievable studio. Like what they do with the MGS remaster collection with like all the others, they basically ported things and then just enhanced everything and like didn't really change a lot of things. This is kind of like changing a lot. And in that, you are going to impact artist direction, a director's vision, and this is where, like, for me, when I was like scrambling through Michel's tweets, I was like, I want to see what he says because this is interesting. He hasn't played the game. He specifically says in one of the tweets he hasn't played the game, and we'll go into some of the tweets. But I'm going to add you on to anything else. Do you have anything to chime in at this point?
In terms of artist direction, they made Warren way less creepy, and I was very sad about that. I was very upset because it's like, oh my goodness, there are some things that we're taking out of Warren's little context here. Like for example, and I was very upset about this because it's one of my favorite lines because I laugh every single time. When you're going into the parking lot the first time to give Warren the flash drive, right, in the first episode, if you just stand there, right, if you just stand there and just like you don't talk to Warren, Warren's just like, get over here. get over here. Come over here. He doesn't say anything. There's one particular line where he actually says, Max, come over here, please. And he says it like so creepy and cringy. And it's just like, ugh. And I love the line to death. Like it's to my soul. I want to tattoo it on my arm here. Like, come over here, please. They took that out. And there's another scene where Warren will start saying things, but he doesn't say that, come over here, please. So there's a couple things that they take out of this where they make Warren a little less creepy. And I found this out. I saw Down the Bombs picture, and then I tested it myself on my Xbox because everybody's doing PlayStation. And indeed, on the second episode, where you can look out the window and Warren's kind of like peeking through, like he's trying to watch you through your window. He's a shadow. Like, you don't see Warren. He's just like a black shadow. You don't know who it is. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's one of those things that, like, yeah, I get it. You don't want to make men look creepy, but that's his context. Like, that is his character. He is creepily involved with Max, which is why I think a lot of people want Max to end up with Chloe, because Warren is such a creep, to the point where in episode 5, there's an optional photograph where you're going through like the whole dream sequence, and like you're trying to dodge people in the locker room. Mm-hmm. You get to Warren's locker and you open it up, and there's always cutout photos of Max's face on bikini models, and then almost like a voodoo doll of Max. That's Warren. Warren is a creep. And I feel like some of that was taken out. It might be just me going crazy, but I think they made him less creepy.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think they've definitely made him less creepy. Like, he's intentionally creepy, more so when I went back and played this game. Like when he rapidly texts you and you see it, I felt like very different from compared to when I played it like 7 years ago. I just remember him, like, you know, when he's texting me this time, I was like, this guy is like really thirsty and a lot thirsty. And like with Life is Strange games, especially the Dontnod ones, they don't really, you know, it's not always about love and like emotion, like you said, like that kind of thing where they want you to kind of like almost like, you know, go back to Chloe, like Chloe's being such a negative kind of like, you know, character that maybe you see Max with Warren, but like it's not even hinted at that, because like Max's ambiguity of like her sexual preference is so like kind of like there, and you know, it kind of says like with Chloe she's interested, but it's like, wait a minute, like they're never really direct with it, and I think it's even probably representative of how Max is portrayed as well as a character. Like when you find out like, you know, about I think like the kind of like hint about autism and stuff in the actual like game, like, you know, there's a kind of like she's a very well written character and a very, very great character in terms of like you could basically break it apart and like write theses on it, because like the way that they've depicted her kind of fits in the story. And I think like with you, what you said is like, I don't mind certain things being changed. I'm not always like kind of that person where I remember everything about Life is Strange 1, but that one was a bit weird. I feel like that's something there's I don't know who, maybe it's even an executive decision to kind of do that, because like Warren's, from what I've read in the Vicelli series comics, like he's nowhere near as creepy, like anywhere near it. Like, really? Yeah, he's nowhere near like that with the Vicelli series. Like he's not in it that much anyway, but like from what I've read up to anyway, but like nowhere near as creepy. So it's like, I think they basically purposely made him a little bit less of less of a pest. But I'm kind of glad that you brought that up though anyway about changes, because I'm going to go into the first tweet from Michel, or first two tweets, which was, obviously, like, you know, people are like mentioning it. He's chimed in, given his kind of input on certain things. One of this was someone saying, and I noticed this myself, which was really good, which was something I wasn't expecting. And I kind of like hit myself a little bit, which I wish I would have done something before I played this. But this person tweeted saying the remaster of Life is Strange completely screws up the lighthouse sequence. That excellent sudden cut when the lighthouse falls to Max waking up in class. Yeah, there's a loading screen right after the lighthouse falls. Between that and wake up, what the actual focus. And Michel tweeted back at this, and he said, and I quote, "This one bothers me so much, sad face. We struggled a lot 7 years ago to have an instant cut to work even on PS3, but it did work." Follows up a second tweet, which was, "I hope Deck 9 will be able to patch it soon. I admit that this kind of pacing and editing in a game which with time travel seems even more important to me than improved facial animations on the grand scheme of things." So I kind of want to use this as a kind of like a context for one scene, which as I said, I got this, I saw it, because I remember it happening, and I was like, wait a minute, this is weird that, you know, there's a loading screen there. And I wanted to play the PS3 version before I wanted to play this one, and I didn't get time, because I was like, I remember it on PS4 specifically. He is, for me, 100% spot on about that, because like as much as we love the improved facial motion capture and stuff like that and all the other things, that is a big component of the game. Because like the entire point is like I know as a developer, you probably sit there and like painstakingly try and find a way to fix it in. Because if you have a vision of something like, it's meant to be like, Max wakes up, like, and you have this kind of weird sequence. If you have a loading screen, then she wakes up, you're like, hang on a minute. You eliminate the entire game is about so much suspense in there, and like the kind of way that they're built in that kind of way. So I was like fully agreeing with his tweet when I saw that. I was like, that does bother me, and I noticed it. I remember that there's more than one instance where this happens, where like a loading screen is spliced into a certain section. So this one really hit home, and I was like, I fully agree with him in this.
Yeah, no, it's just and like you said, we put in a lot of work with technical limitations to make it even work for PS3.
Yeah.
And it just feels like, I don't know, there was a lot of like, again, it almost feels like an artist's depiction of this, and a lot of artists work into this, and we're just saying like, oh no, it won't work. And it would make sense for a previous gen, like Xbox One, for this loading screen to happen. I would have been like, okay, yeah, fair. But it even happened on the PS5, right? Like it happened for you, yeah?
Yeah. It was straight away noticed it. I was like,
yeah, there's a lot of there I don't know. It's like, and again, I didn't have time to actually play through the original again, like on my Xbox, but I feel like all together, it feels like there's a lot more loading screens in this version than there is in the last version. And again, you can make the argument saying like there are more there's more facial animations, there's a lot more textures to this, there's a lot more to load in for it to have a loading screen. But if you're going to try to fix one loading screen, like you have one less loading screen, you have to figure out that one. If you're going to figure out any one, and like Michel said, like about time travel and about suspense, if you're going to have one where you just put all of your effort into it to make sure that it just has a seamless cut, it should be that one. And I want to say that the developers are lazy. Like, absolutely not. They're doing more work than I am. I'm just out here working in the food industry. So who knows? But that's the thing, is I'm not trying to say that they're lazy, but I hate saying like a missed opportunity, because again, I'm not in the industry, but it does feel like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, especially because like he's right. This is again my point where it's like the remaster should have been released on the new consoles, the current consoles. It's like they should have waited, tapped into that software, build it with the loading screens that you can basically eliminate from like the current generation consoles. And I know they're going to release the games on like, just exclusive set of platforms, but it should be built on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and then ported onto the other consoles. And you basically don't sacrifice this kind of like part of it. Because I think like as a developer, you'd probably want to sacrifice like graphic fidelity, facial animations to get like a scene like this, because it's more impactful story. The game's a narrative driven story game. So it's going to be like, oh man, I'm fully. I was a little bit. I noticed that, and it really did detract a little bit from the experience. I was like, oh.
That's the thing. I think we're criticizing it a lot more because, and I think we're forgetting one important thing. We're forgetting one important thing, and we're forgetting it, but it's needed, right, for this kind of criticism. We're treating it as if this is like a separate release, right? This is like a completely like Life Is Strange Remastered, blah blah blah. But this was we never really expected it when we first heard about it. We never really expected it to be a kind of separate release, like, oh, this is a Celebration Remaster. This is always kind of marketed as like a True Colors DLC. Yeah, if that makes any sense. Like if you buy True Colors Deluxe, you also get these, and it's kind of like that Happy Meal toy where you want the hamburger and the fries, but man, you got a little dinosaur and a little Happy Meal there. Why not?
You took out. You took out my mouth then. I was just about to say, like, it's like getting a cheeseburger and fries, and then basically someone saying, here's a plate of fries with like loaded beef and cheese and nachos and stuff like that. And you basically, and you're like, I'm kind of full, but they kind of insist. It's like, here you go, like, eat it. And you're like, oh, I can't eat it, but I shouldn't be eating it. It's that kind of situation. So you're spot on about that, because it's like, the fact that how it's been marketed, you can buy it separately, but it's been essentially packaged in the Ultimate Collection, which was already enough anyway. You just needed Life is Strange, True Colors, and the Wavelands DLC. But to kind of bundle it in that, I feel like that should be a red flag that I should have saw a bit earlier, if anything.
Yeah, because it was bundled, and we didn't, like, again, I don't think, I remember thinking, it's like, can we buy this separately? And there was some talk saying like, no, it's just going to only be in the deluxe version. It's only going to be in the ultimate edition. Ultimate edition, I mean, not the deluxe. It's only going to be in the ultimate edition. So you better buy it now. And I think you bought the ultimate edition. I think I might have bought this through the ultimate edition kind of upgrade. Maybe. I don't think I bought this separately. I can't even remember. But because this was supposed to be part of the Ultimate Edition, and then it got delayed, so then it became a whole separate game. And now we're kind of seeing it from that perspective, that this is now a separate game rather than kind of a little add-on here. Mm-hmm. And I know you're saying like 5 years from now, well, 3 years from now, sorry, 3 years from now, for it to be the 10-year anniversary. I even think if it could have been just waited till like next year, sure, it's like the 8-year anniversary, fine. But then they would have developed it as a separate game, a separate title. Like, this is the remaster collection. Like we wanted to give you more Life is Strange, but here's the Arcadia Bay collection, right? And I think we would have liked it better, and I think it would have been developed better. I think they would have put more time into this rather than saying like, oh man, we got to get people to, it was Square Enix, by the way, Enix, whatever you want to say. It was Square Enix saying like, there needs to be a regular edition, a deluxe edition, and there needs to be an ultimate edition. And I'm thinking, oh crap, what are we going to include for the ultimate edition for people to buy it? I don't know. I guess we can remaster the old games and put them on. Sure, why not? Good idea, because it seems like Deck 9 really was excited to remaster these games. It does. But I don't think it was an original idea. I think it was Square Enix like pushing them to say like, there needs to be an ultimate edition and there needs to be something included for people to buy the ultimate edition. Yeah. Tinfoil hat on, but what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree, because like this is like my kind of frustration with the packaging. It's like you could have sold this as a retail release, a Arcadia Bay collection. It would sell the game. The first game, Life is Strange, sold pretty well for a game that was not expected to sell anywhere near as successfully as it did. And it's in itself, like, the appeals continued. People could have sold it. They could have sold like a set number, like 500 limited edition copies of like a steel book, Life is Strange Arcadia Bay collection, and then measured off that. If like it gets really popular, like we will get a couple more out there. Sure. And like just more time to kind of do it, because like Deck 9's humble beginnings haven't had really like, they're not a huge studio. They're not like a massive studio. Like, as I said, they've got that much workload on all those other games. I imagine the next Life is Strange is in development, my own kind of conjecture, just so based on like kind of sphere, like they basically probably put it into production anyway, because they want to get another one out at some point. But like the studio doesn't have, from my telling, any experience in remastering. And it's not just, as we've seen, a lot of remasters have been, messed up. Like, for example, GTA Definitive Trilogy, like, the what you don't expect from Rockstar. It does mess up, and people expect
the Ezio collection like came out as a mess. The Halo Master Chief collection came out as a mess. Like all these, and that's the thing. We're not even talking about remasters here. We're talking about remaster collections coming out as messes. And that's the biggest point we can make. Yeah. It's just like, this is the problem. And I completely understand why people say it's a cash grab, because like I enjoyed it, but the problem is I'm sitting there watching the game, playing it, and it's like, something happens. Like, there was like motions, like when Max is like flickering, like her animation, like even before load screens, she'd just be standing there. And it'd be like, you see like a quick like glimpse of like, blinking. It's like she's just standing there, the animation, then it loads into the load screen. It's like, wait a minute, what? It's like, what's going on here? Yeah. It's like, how is that even happening? It's like something you'd kind of expect to notice. So like there were issues, and we'll be touching on a lot more that's been removed and kind of added. And speaking of added, one of them, which is definitely something that a lot of people picked on. So I'm going to Twitter again. So I'm going to Phil Spear, who will pop up quite a few times. He's at Deck 9. He writes there. I don't know specifically what he does in terms of like if he's a certain role, but I just took off his Twitter bio. So Phil Spear on the 3rd of 2nd, 2022 tweeted, "If you're playing Life is Strange 1 Remastered and you're wondering who added the 2 new bottles in the junkyard, you're welcome," which was his first tweet that I've got here. And I'm going to grab another one here from Phil Spear, which I picked up. He's tweeted underneath it, "I did that for you. Players who were stuck on that puzzle 7 years ago. Brackets, it's me. Brackets, I was stuck on that puzzle 7 years ago." And before we dig into this, of course, Michel has had his say. And a very good take as well, I think, as well, personally speaking, agreeing with him again, which is someone again said, they added 2 bottles to make the junkyard easier, yet restored this
legendary hard puzzle. Legendarily hard puzzle. I don't know what they're trying to be about, but anyway.
Oh, yeah, with the eggs, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, get all the ingredients, Max, and get it yourself.
Which, by the way, before we get to Michelle's thing, we both got that bug where we were getting the eggs and you transport back into the kitchen like an Abra, which I was a big fan of.
I was like, wait, did I miss it? And I screen recorded. I was like, did I? And I actually rewound it for myself. Like, that did just happen. Okay, that was weird. It's like
we were playing a different time frames. I think I was just ahead of Adam on some of these episodes. I was sending him certain things, and he was cross-referencing on the Xbox version.
Well, you are 6 hours ahead of me, so that makes sense.
And that was a bit of a boost on my part. So we got that. But so actually, back onto this point as well. So Michel responded to saying, "I think that's a good design change. This is what we should have done first: 5 bottles to find, but slightly more available bottles," which. I enjoyed because I remember doing it, the puzzle, because I was like, I got so drunk. I was like, I remember playing this game. I was like, oh, fuck. Because I was reviewing, obviously, when I was reviewing, this is episode 3, I believe, off the top of my head. 2.
The bottles are 2, yeah.
Really? Is it 2? God damn. Yeah. And then 5, you look for bottles again, the bottles you don't need to collect, essentially.
Yeah, that's for the photos, and they did not add a 7th one in that one. So I got that photo, and it sucks still.
Yeah. I was searching around that area because I was like, maybe they've had another bottle, but they didn't. So like this one in episode 2, because I remember playing it. Actually, I didn't review this episode. I reviewed it from 3 onwards, so I didn't review it. But I remember playing it. I was like, where the hell are these bottles? Like, I remember getting them I remember getting 4 and then getting stuck on one. I was like, right. And this one, I was like walking around the junkyard, and I think I went like a weird kind of direction. Like, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And I was like, and I'm like, I'm not that good with memory. It's like, I remember some of these, like, some of the collectibles, like the photo opportunities. Well, like this one doesn't make sense to me. So I kind of like scrolled through the junkyard again. I was like, there's a bottle.
Yeah.
And there's a bottle. I was like,
yeah.
And then obviously I saw Phil Sweet there, and I was like,
Yeah, I found my 5th bottle in a pretty open area too. And I was like, I don't remember that one because I got mine from the campfire sites, and I got mine from the clubhouse, and I got mine on the ship, and then I got mine on the refrigerator. I was like, crap, where's the 5th one? I can't remember the 5th one. And then I'm like in the open area, and I'm just like, oh, the hell? Was it always there? And I just kept thinking like, weird. Okay, but I'll take it. Sure, why not? And I just went right to Chloe. I didn't really search for another bottle, but I was just thinking like, oh, okay, yeah, there it is. There's a bottle.
I think it's a good design change, good game design change. I think it's just one of those things. It's like, obviously you're not going to be stuck there forever. Well, unless you Phil, and he's obviously joking about it, but like, you're not going to get stuck there forever. But like the directions are like so limited in terms of like they don't really give you a hint. Even it's like here's where the bottle is. Like, you don't see the dough coming up and be like, hey, here's where your direction is to the 5th bottle. So I feel like this is a kind of a good change to kind of subtly add something again and be like, if you want to speed up the process, here's the 2nd bottle. So I actually thought that when I saw this and noticed this design change, like, I wish more of the game was like this, where like subtle additions of like, this kind of thing, or like they added something else in it, which is a little bit like,
and it's only 2 bottles. It's not like he added like 4 more bottles.
Like 15 bottles where you're basically just walking around like finding loads of bottles. Yeah, it's only like 2 bottles. And you could have even put it down to probably 1 maybe, but I feel like 2 just basically makes it like you're not sitting in the junkyard for ages, like
trying to 1 bottle. Yeah.
Yeah,
like I remember the first time I played this through, and she kept talking about a bonfire. I'm like, what bonfire? Because where I come from, and I'm talking like not even Philadelphia, that's my original, but then I went to central Pennsylvania, which is like the woods area. When we talk bonfire, we're talking like this massive fire that like you burn trash in. So we're talking like I'm looking for an area where it's enough for a bonfire, not a campfire. A campfire is a very small, condensed one. So the first time I'm playing it through, I'm like, what? Bonfire? Where's the bonfire? There's nowhere else big enough for a bonfire. Then I go in to where the campfire is. I'm like, freaking stupid. I hate this game. Like, I hated that bomb thing. Yeah.
No,
localization, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll take a bit of localization. It'll help tone the mood of this. But no, it was definitely one of those editions where I was like, this is kind of nice to put in the remaster collection, and it's just like a subtle touch. It doesn't change anything. I think if you're hung up that much over 2 bottles being added in, you have got some serious, you got some serious issues. Like for me personally to say that. Like it's the truth. It's like, it's not a game changer, it's not a game breaker.
Oh.
And I think like, and I like that Michel's perspective again. Like I love this kind of thing where he's chimed in like certain things. Like he's obviously seeing people say certain things and he's just kind of like giving his input. And I like, seeing what an original creator's mindset is and something like, when they go back to a game. I've always said like, my fascination for Metal Gear, like, they've always said to Kojima, it's like, if you could remake any of your games, which one would it be? It's like the first Metal Gear. But you'd obviously change it with a completely different complexion you'd give it. And that's like, the sign of any creator. It's like you will go back and, re-envision something completely different. So his input was interesting on that. And I kind of want to take another one, which was really interesting this month. So we're going to get a bit more deeper here. So there was some end screenshots that were posted from Life Is Strange 1 Remastered Collection, which has divided some people. Obviously, I went for the actual real ending, which is, save Chloe and not the stupid ending.
Chloe. Gotcha. Yeah.
No, which you're part of on the PS4 version, you're part of the 30% minority who are, should never save the town.
Oh, actually, for Xbox people, it's like I think it's like closer to the 49%.
Yeah, because there's only 2 people. There's only 2 people playing on Xbox. That's why, and you're one of them. So that's why it's so broken. Well,
I mean, yeah, that's fair. Like Xbox people aren't really known to play these kinds of games. So
yeah, I mean, like that's it. So I don't know if you actually seen this. I don't know. Obviously, this ending. This is the picture of Max, which I'm going to give you on my iPad here.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like you actually had a framed photo of.
No, I don't.
I had a framed photo of just like this is Max crying. Fuck this bitch.
Imagine that. I have a framed picture of Max on here. So this is a picture. This is a picture of Max from. You probably won't even see it, but if you're listening to the audio version, this why you should watch the video version on YouTube. So there's a picture of Max from the remaster collection, and you probably won't be able to see the full texture, but she does look quite different. She's crying a lot in it as well.
Yeah.
The tears are very visible. And by the way, I've got that there.
Tears in this game are like. It seems like a lot of people are crying in this game. You see the tears in a lot of scenes. Because the first time I saw the reveal trailer, when Max wakes up from the nightmare, I saw the tears. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, they're putting that kind of detail into it. But it seems like a lot of characters, including the one you're showing now in your framed photograph of Max crying.
So get us back on track. And before you notice as well, I've got a bit of blue tack there because NASA's probably watching me. So we're, that's just me actually putting posters up. I just leave on my iPad. But anyway, So we got that. And so Michel has put his input here, which is interesting in terms of someone was talking about it. So I'm going to take this Twitter user's comment first. They said, is Max crying? Okay, that's great improvement. In the original, she kind of looked like she didn't care at the funeral or didn't have much emotion, lol, at least from what I can remember. So Michel has tweeted directly at this person and given his input, which he says, and by the way, hello, Michel, if you're watching this. Big fans, huge fans. I love that man. So in this as well, oh, by the way, actually, before I get into this, have you seen in episode 5 where you're in the gallery when Max goes to the Everyday Heroes contest?
Michel's in it.
Yeah, it's him, isn't it?
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, that's definitely Michel. Definitely Michel.
I tweeted that at him at 2015. I remember tweeting it and he never replied, which I'm like, I was convinced it's him. Yeah. It has to be.
Like I played it through again. I'm like, that's definitely Michel Koch. Like I'm almost positive. And he doesn't talk. He doesn't have any talking lines. You can't speak to him. He doesn't really say anything. He's just kind of standing there appreciating photos. I'm like, that's Michel Koch.
Okay, let's thank you for getting the same. I thought I was going crazy. I remember I watched a lot of their interviews when they were releasing Life is Strange. I remember seeing him vividly, and he's got the haircut, the beard. I was like, yeah. So actually, right, we'll get on to Michel's point, which is here, which he says, and he responded to tweet saying, "I'll have to play it and see the changes the scene." Let me rephrase that. I'll have to play it and see how it changes the scene. So obviously he hasn't played it yet. Back when we worked on the scenes with our technical limitations, we carefully decided to not have Max to be too sad at the funeral. She already went through so much and cried a lot in the bathroom while not intervening. The funeral for us was even more was was there to show glimpses of hope, with the butterfly as a symbol of Chloe always being close to Max now in a new way. To Max now in a way. My head is completely gone. He said those two comments in two separate tweets, which I kind of wanted to bring up. And obviously as well, I added as well that Luke retweeted on them. So you got an endorsement there from the producer of Life is Strange to add on to that. He's right again for me. This is like, and you've just alluded to it as well when you said that. Why is everyone crying in this game? It's just like, yeah. It
was like impressive when I saw it, and then I'm like, there's a lot of crying in this game. There's more than I remember. I'm like, it's a very sad game. I'm not trying to say like, oh, why is everybody crying? I'm like, because the feels train doesn't stop in this game. That's why. But it feels like a lot.
Yeah, it does. No, you're right. It feels like a lot, and the subtlety, which is one thing. I feel like that might be like a bit harsh, but I feel like what Michelle's saying is it is sort of like, I didn't expect Max to be basically bawling her eyes out at the funeral, because like she does that in the scene when she decides that, Chloe's like, basically rewind time. You have to let me die, because like this is the effect of Chaos Fury. Like you basically say me so many times. Which I don't know if you've been catching up on Lost and you've seen where Chaos Fury starts playing its effect in Lost.
I'm still on episode 3. Like,
disgrace! Get out of my chat, right?
I know, because episode 3 is kind of dragging for me.
You would have got it, because if you watch Lost, like a lot of our people know, and they know it as well. There's the element of Chaos Fury of one character, which you'll start catching on, and it relates quite nicely to Life is Strange. But he's spot on about this, because like as I said, in Max crying in that scene would make no sense for me, because like the entire point is like, you have the symbolic gesture of the butterfly arriving on the, there, she sees it. The funeral is kind of like that moment where Max is accepted what happened. Like, the entire point of like her deciding where, we have to sacrifice Chloe to save the town. It's like the acceptance of like what's happened, but then also knowing that her friend, essentially the coming of age story. It's like, she's reunited with her friend. They connected. They kind of like completed their journey. And like Michelle said, like, she knows that Chloe will always be like, Max knows that Chloe will always be close to her. So I think like for me to add like something like that, and again, like it sounds mixing with the textures, like the resolution and stuff, like they obviously changed Max's hair. They changed in terms of like the change, like, how much it moves around and stuff, and her face and stuff like here. And if you're watching the video version, like here's where I kind of put the scale. So obviously at the bottom you have remaster, and at the top you have remake. Life is Strange Remaster Collection seems to be sitting in the middle, which is kind of like a really bad kind of position. I think you either have to be one or the other. Because as I said, like when they're doing this and they put it in the middle, they've changed so much. But then like, there's you're almost dragging like a load of things by the hand with like loads of issues that are being tangled in. And this is an example of it. It's like, I feel like this is a direct impact on the vision of something. I feel like you're adding something that doesn't need to be there.
Right. Yeah. No. And the fact that you're taking away the artist's depiction of what an emotion should be, and you're like, oh no, she should be crying. But like, yeah, she should be. Like as a friend, she should be. But at the same time, and one thing I will say about the facial animations is that you really do see Max's age going further and further each one. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, like, oh man, she's really aging. But you see a maturity happening in Max's face, where she goes from a teenager with eyeshadow and all that to a very like war-ridden like young woman, and I think that's what this intention was in the first game, is that by the time she gets to that funeral, after all she's been through, she's done crying and it's kind of like this is who I am, this is how time should be, this is why Pompidou's still alive, which they messed up Pompidou, and I'm like, oh, Pompidou looks so bad, but whatever. Who cares? Me. But the intention was that she is grown into this and accepted this reality. But again, they had to show the tears. They had to show the tear engine. Kind of like NBA 2K has to show sweats on every single player. They were only played for about 5 minutes of game time, but they are sweating so hard because they have to show the sweat engine. This one, instead of sweating, it's eye sweats. And they have to show the eye sweat engine. And just like, you don't have to. You don't have to. We're already crying. Our eye sweats are already doing its thing,
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was a weird choice, you know.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
And especially since Webb was okay. I'm not back to Webb. Hi, hey, how you doing? Want me on your stream? Just hit me up. You know, Mountain Time, Central Time. You know, but like it's not. I'm not trying to say Webb did a bad job, because it is, you know, part of like the animation team. But however,
he was R&D, by the way.
Oh, he was. Yeah.
He wasn't motion captured performance director for this. He was just the R&D.
Okay. But like still at the same time, Deck 9 is in tune with emotion. They know human emotion. They know about how to depict like how a person grows, right? They've proven that time and time again. They've proven that with Before the Storm. They proved that with True Colors. I'm sure they're going to prove that with The Expanse. But it just seems like, wow, they couldn't read the story into this. They couldn't read how Max would be at this funeral at this point. As professional writers, they didn't see this. And I feel like, and I know Michel and Luke are very busy with what they're doing, but in my mind, like, couldn't you at least consult them?
Had some Deck 9, that's had some Dontnod consultants in there.
Yeah, you know, like we're talking like a phone call or a Skype or a Zoom. It's like, hey man, we're thinking about this scene. Like, what do you think? And Michel is just like, you know, takes his hand through the camera and just slaps him. But it's kind of like, you know, give some advice, you know, not full on like we're in Deck 9 studio, we're helping out. Zoom call. You know, a little Zoom call. Yeah,
I think like that's because obviously I think like the animation will be on the teardrop will be on Deck 9's animation team. They'll be at it because they wouldn't do a facial motion capture. It would make no difference. But like in itself, like again, this is my other issue where I have to keep bringing this up. Is this a Deck 9 decision or a Square Enix decision? Yeah. I know that Square Enix makes a lot of executive decisions on like a lot of their stuff. You know, they make a lot. We're not affiliated with Square Enix in any way, shape, or form. This channel never has been. Like we are. I run this as an independent channel. Adam's here to help me do the podcast. Big part of the podcast. We talk about Life Is Strange content. Talk to you about what we think. But I just know that these decisions come from the publisher and like the way that Square Enix has directed some of the things from just the way I can see how things are mapping out. This could have been a Square Enix decision to say, we want Max to cry a little bit more in this. We want Warren to be less creepy in this. They might have like had like a lot of other says. We don't know if there's like, you know, some of their development team moved over. They have all these external studios, like if they worked on the first Life is Strange, because they did with Life is Strange 1 and the other games. So like in itself, and this, for example, for me, it impacts artist vision because I just don't think you need to add something like that. There's nothing to it. Like the entire thing for me, like that point for Max, I don't need to see her bawling her eyes out or even like his subtle like drop of tear in her eyes. As it says, the scene paints itself. The vision of where Max is like, they obviously, like, you know, Michel said in his tweet, they sat down, thought about it. What happens here? And it's like with Max, her personality, her traits, everything else, you have to really understand the character Max Caulfield, but you'll never understand her anyway. I feel like that's where the intricacy of the character really comes from. Like you just don't understand how she feels in each scene, where she's at. The character evolves. From a chrysalis to a butterfly. She evolves, you know, from like a cocoon character of like, you know, this girl that's nowhere near as confident to becoming the woman that she is, like, you know, the coming of age story. Like that's why they stress it on that. And I think that's why it's such a well executed character. So like when you see something like this added to the scene, I'm a bit like, yeah, is it needed? Does it need to be needed there? Like, you know, what does it really add to it? It's like, it's just showing something off that doesn't need to be there.
But thankfully, and I think we can, you know, congratulate the Deck 9 team. Round of applause. Original soundtrack, all there. As far as I know, there was no missed tracks. Even on the Chloe funeral, there was, you know, the same track, which I never realized. I don't know why I didn't.
I believe the music's changed at some points in there. I think I saw someone say something about episode 5. Do you know, like nightmare, before the nightmare sequence really starts, and you're in the girls' dormitory and you start changing the characters and stuff, and you play as like Victoria, you play as like, I believe someone posted something where they show that the music's a little bit different. At also, that point,
some of my tracks, like, you know, the scenes where like you see the photographs and they're degrading and it becomes a new photograph.
Yeah.
I don't have any audio on that at all.
Yeah. I
have your audio.
But no, I had one scene. I remember because the audio goes, and I'm a bit like, the entire because it's like that. It's actually like the like sound effects that makes the photos are burning and like changing, kind of like.
There's some audio files that are missing in this one. Yeah.
It's a fundamentally flawed game. This is the problem.
It is.
Like, and I keep stressing.
Flawed, but like, and I hope the audience is kind of reading into this where I'm going to look directly at the camera to you if you're watching video. I hope you know that, like, I feel like me and Adnan's opinions of this are mixed. And I hope we're coming off that way, where I don't think I'm fully negative. I don't think I'm fully positive. I think I'm in kind of the mixed realm. And Adnan, like talking with you, like even through text, you know, we're kind of mixed because like as we were texting, like, oh, this bug was happening, but
my entire life is a mix, by the way, mate.
Life is mixed, but like we were talking over DMs, pulling back the curtain, but we were talking over DMs and like this is happening, but damn, the story still hits hard. Oh, it still hits. Like it's still like really good story, and the facial animations are really making it just punch you right in the stomach. You know, one of those things. But at the same time, it's flawed, and I think both me and you are finally in the same kind of platform here in terms of like there's some good things, there's some bad things, and I think we're in the same opinion that it's kind of like it's mixed. I think, you know, it's a mixed bag.
As I say, it's almost like beautifully broken, the game in parts, like it, and it's like that's beyond like
that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
because it is like I've seen people really enjoy it online, and obviously I'm in the same vein where it's like I really enjoy something, I really want to enjoy it, but then I can't look past faults. And I think when you start, I'm not necessarily against like changing certain things or subtly changing things. For example, the bottle one, like as even Michel gave his endorsement, that's a good one. But for me, I think that they would have added more credibility, Square Enix, and I'm taking your point here as well, in terms of they would have added more credibility into this. They said, we brought Michel on as a consultant, or Raoul Barbet as a consultant, or someone, or Luke as a consultant. We know that Dontnod isn't
Adnan as a consultant.
Well, I'm not. I don't have anywhere near the French level of expertise as these guys. They are unbelievable developers. But like, I think like that would have added way more credibility to this in terms of, because like I know that you know, Dontnod has separated from this in terms of like, because they were so rocking that news when they were like sell it. Obviously, we know that the IP is owned by Square Enix anyway, but you know, there's such a connection with it, and I think like you need to add something to this because like, and sorry, I have to bring it up again, but do you like the rumors about the MGS3 remake that's happening at the minute?
Can we like? I will make sure that there's one single episode where you don't bring up it.
It's relevant though.
Yet, so
my point's relevant though in terms of they are. This is rumored. This is rumored to be in development by, or I think it's like some Chinese studio that they've sent it off to Konami. But apparently, one of the rumors was including this that Kojima's been brought on as a consultant. So he's kind of communicating via some kind of like wavelength to Konami, because obviously that relationship's a bit more, you know, if you followed it. He's kind of been brought on as a consultant for this MGS3 remake. So he's there to kind of present. It adds weight. And in itself, that Konami knows that it needs to add weight and something like that. And if we take that example from that Kojima one, we put it onto Life Is Strange. Just imagine they said, yeah, and we brought like, you know, Michel as a consultant, like almost like Ashley Birch was brought on as a writer before. So how much credibility did that add? Because it was a huge blow, that, because obviously SAG was in the middle of the strikes. They'd lost so many voice actors, specifically Ashley Birch, because she couldn't reprise Chloe. But they're like, hang on a minute, we're going to bring Ashley Birch on the writing team because she has written stuff before, and she's she's a very creative person as it is, and it added so much more to the credibility. It's like even Rihanna DeVries' performance, not taking anything away from her performance, but it was just like people knew that it's like, oh, Ashley Birch is there, so it's gonna like, you know, she knows Chloe, she is Chloe. And I feel like this is where you would have had it with the Dontnod team. Like, you know, Michel would have been there. It's like, as you said, should Max cry? You'd be like, no.
Yeah,
that for me would have been case solved. But I think like, and again,
it's just like consulting. I think a lot of people might mistake that for consulting can be like really like in the development team, or it can be like what Reggie Fils-Aimé did for GameStop, where he was just on the board of directors, where like Reggie would just come in with his bag lunch and just sit down for a couple hours and be like, no, don't do that. Okay, bye everybody, later, bye. And Reggie would just walk away. It's not written like that, but we all know Reggie just came in with his little bag lunch, ate a sandwich, and then went home, you know? But it can be as big, as little as that. And Michelle and Luke are, again, they're busy. We don't know what Raul is doing right now. So he could have been consulting. He could have. But the fact was that he didn't. You know, it's a little disappointing where like none of them consulted, as far as we know. Like there's neither a confirm or deny whether they consulted or they didn't.
They would have been they probably would have been credited, wouldn't they? Because you had to put a consultant role or something in the credits.
Oh, like before we even get to the end of this episode, we didn't even dive into that.
No, that's the next section. Don't worry. Conveniently, okay. It's actually the next section. Don't worry.
Good. But yeah, it would have been credited as consultants, but they didn't, and it's kind of weird. Like the only confirmation that we got was the credits, but the only confirmation I was thinking of, like, Michelle didn't play it, you know, so that was a kind of a confirmation for me, saying like, oh, he didn't play it, meaning that like he doesn't even know what the problems are because he didn't consult, you know.
Do you like
just get Raul to consult, you know?
I don't know. Everything you say, like, and you know, all the issues we have with stuff like this and them kind of like rolling out patches and everything else like that. I did a bit of digging before this. Do you know how many reviews of this game are on Metacritic?
0.
Yes.
0.
It's
so weird. Is that so weird?
Because the funny part is when I was looking at it, like 100% I would have reviewed it by now. Like I would have easily, like when I was at Hardcore Game, I was always requesting review codes for stuff.
You know how many reviews of Ali Ali World there are right now? A lot of reviews for Ali Ali World, which is dropping tomorrow as we're recording this. So everybody leave me alone because Ali Ali World's coming out. But there's 1,000 reviews for Ali Ali World for a very small indie skateboarding game that's not really making any news at all. 0 reviews for Life Is Strange Remaster. 0. That's incredible.
That in itself is something to be said. I think like you really get a gauge of what it is. Like I said, I would have reviewed it. Like I would have like gladly like grabbed that space in Metacritic like I did with the other games like easily. Yeah. But I just find it really, that sells me a lot about like they didn't really. This game should, as I said, shouldn't exist now. It should be existing in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, 1 year's time. Like it should have more time on it. It's just not. You know, and
it wasn't. I don't think it was intended for being a separate.
No,
remaster.
But it should have been though. It deserved that though. Like all the other remasters I got, like Alan Wake Remastered got remastered last year, and they released it as a separate game.
No HDR in that one, but it is what it is. But
yeah, well, but like they released it as like a separate. I don't like things like just being like shoehorned into it. And this, I feel like it was like, as I said, that analogy of like and you said it's about having a Happy Meal, like they just gave you the toy, and you're like, well, I don't really need this. Like it's just wow. kind of. There's just that, but obviously, Adam, like as you said, and which is going to be the next big topic, and it's maybe like one of the second to last or something like that, depending on how far we go with this. But obviously, the credits, which has been very controversial. So I'm going to go first to Michel's tweet here. So someone again tweeted at Michel. But I didn't tweet at Michel, just tweeted in general, saying people are arguing that credits per episode doesn't matter when it's quote unquote a complete game. Okay, so why does BTS get to keep its per episode credits? So Michel responded to this saying, I didn't see the new credits, but we had artists or people working on only one episode and not the others. I hope they haven't been erased from time, sad face. And on top of that, obviously, we're keeping everything on top of it. We've been talking about this nonstop, me and Adam, over DMs. So Phil Spear, again, has been a very busy man on Twitter getting back to these responses. And he responded saying, hi, Michel. I worked on implementing the new credits. I can very much assure you that if someone was credited in any episode of the original, they remain credited in the remaster. An issue we caught late meant that the credits were supposed to show after episode 5, but didn't. And Michel responded to that saying, awesome, thanks a lot from all the Dontnod team for this. So I'm going to take this first part, because obviously I was kind of in the vein where I was like, I didn't mind when I was playing through it early in the first episodes too, I was like, I don't mind them removing the credits necessarily. In the position that the game has been fully released, because I played the Walking Dead collection many times because I was grinding platinums out, but played it many times and they had the credits after each one, and I was a bit like, you know, and they wouldn't even let me skip them as well. Like I've seen it, like, you know, and I'm always one of those people I always like show respect, but at this time I was a bit like, you know, I know who's made it. You know, I was scrolling through the credits in the main menu section before I even started the first Life is Strange. I kind of went to see, like, obviously I went to see if Anastasia were involved and like whoever else was involved. So like I saw it from that perspective. Then I was kind of like taken aback by what Michel said, where he said like there's certain people that work only in one episode, which was like, yeah, okay, I get, well, I will do it, and that makes sense. Then obviously I saw, again, a lot of people who are shitting on Deck9 for it. A lot of people who are shitting on, like, again, seems to be just Deck9 and not just Square Enix, which is, again, the weird kind of narrative that's been built around this. But a lot of people that were like just absolutely dropping Deck9 in it and saying like, you know, they're erasing Dontnod's identity. They, you know, they're not crediting these people. There's no credits in the thing. There are credits in the main menu. I didn't know if they had all the credits from people from the other games. Obviously, I finished it before all the patches came out, and I know that there was no credit after episode 5, which I found was a bit weird. That's where I was like, I was like, but obviously now we know that it's not been in that, and hopefully, I hope that Deck9 and Square Enix do patch this in. It should be at the end of episode 5. I'm fully believing that, because I feel like once I've completed the game, the credits should roll, and rather than go back to the menu that it did. But no, I was very agreed with it, because there's a huge problem in the game industry, if you don't know as well. Like, if people work on games, sometimes they don't get credited. So you could work on a game for 4 years, leave a studio, and some people just don't get credited for some reason.
Yeah, isn't that Rockstar's policy that if you work on the game for years, but if you leave like the month before it releases, they'll just not credit you, which is insane. I'm like certain things. I'm like, I don't agree with a lot of people. That one is weird for me. I just don't understand. It's like almost like you coming on here and then doing 98% of the podcast, and then me deleting your picture and like your recordings, and then like getting rid of you. And it's like, well, yeah, he was only just, you know, here for it. It's like, it's just a weird kind of attitude to take. So obviously I've only realized a bit more prolifically that this is a huge issue in the gaming industry. And there's even points where if you go on Twitter, you'll see some developers go like, oh, I'm actually credited in that game, in the anticipation that they weren't expected to get credit with it. So seeing these tweets from Michel, he was very much spot on. I still stand firmly where I personally don't think it's after each episode I want it. That's just probably a personal preference, if anything. Obviously, I'd like it to be at the end of episode 5 with all the credits. I kind of agree that the Deck9 credits roll first with all the people who are doing the remaster, because they are the people that put in the legwork essentially into like remastering it. And that's the rule of, I feel like that's for me the rule of thumb. And obviously all the Life is Strange crew were credited underneath it, including the motion capture actors from the very first Life is Strange game. They're all there. So like, I think like for me, that's all right. I'm a little bit broken a bit too much in two minds, where it was like, before I saw this tweet from Phil Spear, thankfully he actually tweeted before we recorded and caught it. It was a bit of an issue, and especially with it not being after episode 5. And actually, no, sorry. Okay, I wouldn't have that much of an issue with it being after each episode, like them removing it. But then the worst part is that it's on deck, it's on BTS, but it's not on this one. Because me and you have not touched, and I want to make that clear in this episode. Both me and you haven't touched Before the Storm. No. In fact, we're not playing until next week, because for one, I'm gonna be busy playing Ollie World. So I even bought the Rad edition with the expansion pass. So yeah, I'm gonna be playing Ollie.
I'm gonna play it next week, and then just before Horizon comes out.
Oh yeah, Horizon. Yeah. No, legitimately, Ollie World is my favorite game. But back on point. So me and you have not touched Before the Storm. So like we said, we were texting each other. It's like, yeah, you know, like, but I bet, you know, they took it off Before the Storm's credits. And then we see all his tweets saying like, why did they get the tweet? It's so weird. And this is, back to my point when I said that the Before the Storm would look stunning. You know, it would look absolutely stunning. And one of them, you know, because they would have a bias towards it. I think I'm a little bit on point.
No, we will be able to, confirm that hypothesis in the next episode for sure. I remember you saying that.
That's even like the first step of it, that like they took much more notice on Before the Storm, to the point where they took off the credits for Life is Strange 1, but they kept the credits for before the first Life is Strange. Sorry, I was on the Before the Storm thing. So they took the credits off the first Life is Strange, but they left it on Before the Storm. You know, it's just kind of like wacky to me to say that, like, why'd you put that much focus? Because you put intentionally credits into it. So you knew how to put credits into a game, and that didn't need to be patched in. Why does it need to be patched in for Life is Strange? you know, is kind of like a little bit sketch to me. You know, it's a little bit coming from a guy who was born in North Philly. I think I know what sketchy is. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point to make. And because I saw like a lot of people have issues with like the trailers, like, you know, they show the Deck 9 logo first before the Dontnod one.
Yeah.
That's the way it's going to be, you know. Like I expect Blue Point Games' logo to appear before like, you know, Konami's logo on an MGS remaster collection, like, you know, the collection that they did. Because they're the people that are remastering it. And there's just, there's a weird mentality of flex of like, you know, people like they're raising this kind of studio. It's like, no, I think you're reading into it too much. And I think like this example, I was a little bit off. Again, this is part of the hysteria that some people were causing. I still think I agree that there's fundamental flaws of this game. I'm just not completely bashing on it. Like I feel like some people are just out there to bash on it for no reason. And maybe if it is a cash grab, maybe it's not. I'm not one of those people with that kind of mindset. But no, like I feel for Michel because, like as he said, like, you know, a man who works in a game like that and then has many people working on it, many people. You want to make sure they're all credited in it. You want to make sure that they're always a part of the game. They're running their own studio now in Montreal. You know, even if they had a freelancer for 2 days, you'd expect them to put the credits on. They're going to do it because it's like it's just they know that it's that mentality. It's like if you see it from that, you're kind of expecting them to pay in the credits. Because I thought it was an interesting mechanic, obviously, like when you finish the episode and it like loads up to the next one. Because I was expecting that to be BTS. I'm like, oh, I finished one episode. It'll just like, you know, give me that countdown time where I can load into it.
And I appreciate that countdown there, but like there could have been credits before that countdown. You know, like I saw that countdown in each one, and I was like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool feature. But like, take away the credits.
Because I got someone's point where they said that they remove the music and it's that kind of moment where you can sit back and be like, oh shit, this has just happened. It's like, you know, the feeling of like when you first played it, which I agree with at first. Because when I played it first time, I was like, I sat back in the credits, I was like, oh, so that was pretty brutal. That has happened and all this other stuff. But then at the same time, I know everything that was happening in the game, so I was like, I don't really feel that kind of same level of impact. But even still, I thought they would have kept maybe the preview at the end of each episode and then loaded into the kind of thingy section.
Yeah, they even got rid of the preview. But like at the same time, I don't know. Like if you're gonna get rid of anything, the preview, that's fine. Like yeah. I wouldn't have like really blown any steam if they got rid of the preview. But you know, like Adnan, me and you, like we've interviewed people on our like own podcast. Like you've interviewed people in StrangeCast, Life After Strange. I've interviewed people for games of groceries. Oh my goodness, I'm just losing it today. We want to make sure that like people are credited. Like we talk to people in the video game industry, and it's important that they're credited because they put a lot of work in. We hear their passions, we hear everything that they put into this, and to take all that away, it's just, I don't know. And I think like a lot of people might not see the credits as a big deal because like they're going to skip it anyway. But just that little thing to just say, hey man, thanks for all the work you do, you know?
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, as he said, like, you know, you don't expect everyone in the cinema to sit there and watch all the credits. Like there's very few people doing that. And there's sometimes people just sit there to watch if there's an extra like hidden scene at the end of a film. So like, that's fine. But, and you know, you just kind of roll the credits, but it's just acknowledgement for people who worked on it. So that's the thing for me. Like, I don't mind if they removed it. And I'll probably get shit on the comments, but like, I don't really mind, like, you know, they're moving it after each episode, as long as it played at the end of episode 5. It actually played, but I remember finishing it and went straight to the choices. Like, huh. I was like, well, that's a little bit, you know, I was like, come on, like you expect it to be that. And so obviously we don't know how it's going to play out in the BTS. It's from where it says like people saying that, it plays after each episode. So I'm like, that'll be an interesting sight to behold if it actually happens. It does kind of make me question the decisions of like removing it from one game and then keeping it in the other. It's like you kind of put on an equal playing field, and especially with BTS as well, you do the exact same thing. But yeah, just a very, very strange thing to come out of a game. It's very strange. It's, as I said, I think like the amplifying issue of it is as well is that the loss of the Dontnod connection. I think like it's really hurt this game. I feel like it just come out of the blue, that kind of subject we talk about, the consulting thing. It's really changed the complexion of this game, and I think that's what really, really, really hurt Deck 9, because it's like if this game came out in the state that it is at the minute, with even the issues, if people had known that the Dontnod team were consulted in it in some kind of capacity, it probably would have been accepted a lot more easily. But the fact that they weren't consulted to me explains like a lot of things and just like kind of things that I speculate and how I feel and probably how, because again, as I said, we don't know what the influence of like decisions have been from Deck 9 and the decisions have been made from the publisher. Two people that are there, it's like, it's going to be Square Enix, want to call something, they'll call something very much like, it's just they own the IP.
I think it is a lot to do with Square Enix because it does seem like a Square Enix move. I think Deck 9, they appreciate what Dontnod did. They appreciate them for pretty much blazing the trail for what they did. But it seems like a Square Enix thing because Square Enix totally cut off Dontnod. But I don't think Deck 9 really cut off Dontnod. I don't think they did. I think they appreciate it for everything they did.
I've seen Chris Floyd, Webb, Michelle, Luke. I've seen them all interact on Twitter. They don't have any personal beef. They're different people, but like, Deck 9 were given it. Like, I feel like because obviously I know some people read like Chris Floyd's reasons why he left Deck 9, and he obviously saw they didn't agree with the direction. But do you know how many times it's rare for a studio of size like Deck 9 to be given an established IP with the opportunity of really building something for the future? Not very often. You have your Naughty Dog, you have your Rockstar Games, but it doesn't happen for every studio. So if they're giving something like this, and even if it's not their baby, and it's like someone else's, they will take it because it's like there's so much opportunity for them to kind of build a studio from it, a presence, a name. Otherwise, these opportunities don't come. Like look at for example, I just mentioned it. Horizon. Mm-hmm. What were Guerrilla Games' games before that? Killzone, a lot of other games. They Square, Sony gave them the investment to make a new IP, and they took the opportunity to build something which has now become a blockbuster series for Sony in terms of like it will, Horizon Forbidden West is a unit seller on the PlayStation 5, like for a game. Oh yeah. And they're going to bank on it. It's a big blockbuster game for them. So like that's like an opportunity when a studio gets a rare opportunity to make a new IP. You're not going to be like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like if someone comes up to you with an established IP, which what most publishers do anyway, because they've like look at Microsoft's acquisition of Activision. Like all those IPs are going to send off to different studios. By the way,
as an Xbox person, I was just like, oh. That's just weird. No,
that's the start of a nuclear arms race. That in the video game industry, and it's going to be.
I think that's why a lot of people are saying that Sony might be buying Konami or something like that. I'm like, oh,
well,
Bungie, which is like,
the Bungie one was months in advance though.
Yeah, no. A lot of people are saying like, oh, that was a hit back. I'm like, do you not know how? It's not like you buy a Hershey bar in a gas station. That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. But I feel like that in itself, the Microsoft thing will probably come back at some point in Square Enix's acquisition. Yeah, that'll be a topic in itself, especially relating to Life is Strange. But generally speaking, it was a very, very strange thing with credit controversy, and I kind of want to move this on to, which was one other thing that I picked up on. So we're about to Phil Spear again, who is appearing on here. So do you know someone pointed out to him, saying that what happens to the game art cover? So actually, when you load up your achievements and your trophy profiles and stuff like that, have you seen that it's very black?
What?
So let me show you something. Again, we're going back to my photo frame. We're getting rid of Max.
Photo frame.
So can you see, if you're watching the video version, if you're on the audio version, you should be watching the video version, like I said. So like when you load them up, it'll show that. So that's the Life is Strange graphic. Oh, sorry. That's the Life is Strange graphic there. That's the one for PS3. There, PS4. That's PS5's. PS4 remastered. Sorry.
No, like, wait, where is that? Like on your achievements?
Yeah. So when you load up when you load up like an achievement list or a trophy list, it'll like be a blacked out color. So it's basically the lettering is there in that picture. You won't see it.
No, on Xbox, it's working just fine. So a lot of things that people are complaining about, I'm like, I didn't experience any of that. Like, literally, a lot of people are like, oh, this happens. I'm like, not for me. It's just like, and I saw people like in the comments of Life is Strange, like, oh, we put out a patch for PlayStation and Steam, and like 3 people were like, an Xbox too. I'm like, for what? We didn't experience really any glitches. Not even that. That.
This isn't a huge issue, but it's just a bit of a weird one to have like appear. And he replied saying,
I'm going on my Xbox app, by the way, just to see if like
right. So this person said, what happened to the game cover art? Is this how it's really supposed to look like? You can barely see it. And Phil Spear responded, probably not. No, you can let SE know there's a bug in the pinned thread on the subreddit by contacting Square Enix support. Yeah. So that was just like another flag issue, which was like popped up, and I was like, again, it's something I noticed very quickly. Oh, you got it there?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
I got my, well, it's not focusing, but you can see that I have all 1,000 gamer score for it. But yeah, no, I got a, I have an image, which is weird. Again, another thing where like my Xbox is doing just fine. It's like with it.
Well, yeah. Screw Xbox. Yeah. Anyway, so that was kind of like a one flag I wanted to bring up in that. And then another one, which is from Nicefield as well. Everyone knows Nicefield. Nice person as well. Who found obviously a very interesting bug, which is going to be another issue we address again, which is again comes down to like, for me, like just one of those rolling things. Mm-hmm. If anyone else is having problems with the Life Is Strange Remastered subtitles on PC, I can confirm that changing subtitles to French and then back to English fixes the problem. Like, do you know, like all those,
that's wild, dude.
Yeah, I laughed at that. And obviously, the first Life is Strange episode, subtitles was working fine. And then after that, as people have seen, it is just littered coding, which I'm like, how did this pass through? Yeah, I'm just like, how did this pass through quality assurance? It's like, how did this pass through quality assurance? Like, this is where you basically, as I said, it's just like, for me, if I was reviewing this game, and like I would slash all my scores from it across the board, because like the one issue you fix is like, yeah, that's like an issue in terms of like the lip syncing. Then all these other like litters of bugs that are just appearing, that's just causing me more problems. That's just kind of, I can't sit there and watch something where it's like, did you ever watch The Dark Knight Rises? Because Christopher Nolan basically changes from IMAX to like different cameras. It's like the Dark Knight was shot in IMAX, like everything. They had those massive cameras and they're shooting it. Right. Well, in Dark Knight Rises, he decided against it. He shot certain scenes in full IMAX. You get the full IMAX camera. But then other scenes, you'd go back to a normal camera. So this resolution screen would change. Oh. So when I was watching it. Yeah, so when I was watching, I was like, oh, God, this just keeps changing. It keeps changing. And this is the thing with this. It's like you see things like this. And obviously, I kept the subtitles on 5 episodes. I played it with the intention of playing it all along because I was like, I need to see if every single sentence in the rest of this game has coding. So I was playing Life is Strange 1 with a bunch of code at the bottom of my screen. You would say turn it off, but I'm turned it on for the reason that the sake of it is actually a product that's not got subtitles in it. Yeah,
literally didn't happen for me like at all. And I don't think a lot of people on Twitter are playing it on Xbox, but a lot of people were showing their Steam and they were showing PlayStation.
Yeah, we've already explained there's only 2 people playing on Xbox because that's only 2 people play on Xbox. You and some random other person.
Here's the thing. As many problems as they're having with PlayStation and Steam, are we really wondering why they delayed the Switch version? Like, can you imagine if they put out the Switch version with the amount of PC? Which, okay, so let's put PC out of the way because a lot of PC ports, they always break. I mean, Arkham Knight is a most famous example.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but like for PlayStation, right? There's way too many bugs for a PlayStation. For a PlayStation 5, you had a lot of issues.
But it's only running on PlayStation 5. It's not a PlayStation 5 game. PlayStation 5 game. It's a PlayStation 4 remaster of a PlayStation 4 game, which is, as I said, I don't mind remasters. They do it all the time. They port games onto new consoles. GTA 5 has been ported on every console. GTA 5 will get ported into the next console with GTA 6 release. We know that GTA 6 is happening because they announced that. Yeah. But like they'll port it into another console. But at least with Rockstar, they're porting it onto new consoles and making it fit with that kind of line of thing. I've never really heard any huge issues with them porting it from console to console. But with this is an issue in terms of like, this is again a PS4 game running on for me on PS5 with like, for me, little difference. The frame rates haven't even been put in yet. So we haven't seen any of the updates that have been introduced into it. And like same with like just generally the Xbox as well. Like we're playing the same game on the same console. And I if anyone says to me, I think it's cash grab, I would agree with you. Like if you comment in the comments and say I'm completely wrong, I will agree with you. Obviously, as long as it's not malicious. But like, if you have a completely different opinion, I'm fine with you having that because I've seen people have very different experiences with it. So like my issue with this is like, these are many, many, many issues. It's like one thing after another. Look how many segments we've had. I built these all around Michel's tweets because I feel like his input was something that I really wanted to see and read. And obviously, I hope that he plays in, just gives his 2 cents on everything. And it's just like I was like obviously picked up Phil Spears' tweets because like there's so much damage control essentially on there of like things that are broken. This is an issue. That's an issue. what are my highlights from it? The three things I could really say to you that really sell it for me is like the facial animations, which you talked about, great. The bottles, for example, very subtle change, and it's good kind of addition for a game. And then 3 is, like some of the scenes are just so really more like hard hitting. They look so much better in the resolutions, but then not every scene's configured in that same way. Like some of the aesthetics are good, some of them are. Like I've got under this entire like formatting all the issues I got. So like look at this, episode 1, rewind message at the beginning was stuck in the top left section. So like even when other coding was appearing, like I couldn't get rid of it.
Didn't happen for me. So
that's what I mean. Textures and visuals changed at the end. Felt the quality drop. That was when the lighthouse scene happened, and it literally shifted back almost to the original game. I told you about the characters models at the end. Character models can be seen standing before load screen. You said about T models as well. We saw that. Loading scene at sequence at the beginning. Notice that episode 2 subtitles showing codes rather than subtitles. Glitchy opening. There was glitching everywhere. I saw scenes where like Max was stuttering before it actually got to a scene, which was a bit weird. Additional loading screens in episode 3, I think. This is another one. Sorry.
This whole thing, man.
Yeah, I picked out one here, which is Max's character model was stuttering while in the water with. Max's character model was stuttering while feeding water to disable Chloe, giving her water.
Really?
Yeah, it was jumping up and down. I tried to get a picture of it, but obviously it was jumping too fast to send it. So and then in that episode as well, I had the glitch line as well, which I saw. Episode 5, the credits were removed, which was that no full run of credits. So yeah, there was just issue after issue after issue. As I said, if I would host this podcast, run this channel with you, do this show with you, I would not be buying this.
No, I've already told a bunch of people that I know. It's like, hey, Life is Strange got remastered. Like, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm like, you picking up a PlayStation? They're like, yeah, don't. Just don't. Even on Xbox, like as far as I saw, it's pretty bug free. It's pretty polished on Xbox. I wouldn't even tell people to play this on Xbox, especially with the bugs that I faced, especially with that. Especially with episode 5, one of the most climactic episodes we've seen in a Life is Strange game. I would say no, not even for Xbox. And I've been praising it for no bugs, but, and they should have delayed this whole thing because, like, it's kind of weird that, like, we can imagine that Nintendo Switch was just a disaster. We can imagine that. They're like, we're going to delay the Nintendo Switch one. But PlayStation was a disaster. Steam was a disaster. Xbox had its issues. But, like, I can understand with Deck 9 that they already delayed something that was supposed to be already. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw this because we haven't touched Before the Storm. But apparently the outfit, the bonus outfit, if you pre-order the remaster collection with, the bonus outfit in Before the Storm was delayed. The outfit was delayed. The crypt keep an outfit that was a bonus is delayed.
I saw.
How is this whole game not delayed?
I did see that, and I was just like, that's the point where I was like rolling my eyes. I was like, oh,
bonus outfit.
An outfit for a. I feel I've said that enough time. An outfit for a video game which was meant to be remastered,
delayed. God dang, dude!
This is why I just feel like I'm just like sitting here like that. We were kind of like just sitting there in DM back and forth, and I was just there like, just like rolling my eyes. I never go in the attention, even with True Colors. Like I was so critical at points in terms of like in the discussions we had. And I feel like I'm actually, in my opinion, go back and playing it. But then obviously when I had a conversation with Day, like she kind of said, I understand where you come from, like, how you feel about it. And like when I was playing this, I was just like rolling my eyes, like, even beyond other people, obviously we haven't talked about, the character models, like, some of the characters change, like Kay looks very different. Looks more like Day from one of her pictures. Like, that doesn't really bother me, some of those character models being changed. It's like, but then they don't upkeep, like in the resolution, they're not the same. So in the same,
Principal Wells got done dirty. He got done dirty. Pompidou, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but Principal Wells didn't look good. Like there's some characters who look good, but then they didn't maintain it throughout the entire thing. That's what I mean. It keeps dropping. The frame rates keep dropping. Like the textures keep changing. And I think like just
Loading
to
screens.
like the only thing I could really think you could do with something like Life is Strange, if anything, is either remaster it in terms of like just up the resolution, like they do with ports, like Blue Point Games did with some of the games where they up the resolution and then release it, or you remake it. And it's like you basically have the other two, because like as I said, like that scale that I gave you, the thing in the middle, and it's too much messing around because you're doing too much stuff to it. And we've seen, for example, with the GTA Definitive Edition trilogy, whatever it's fucking called, like there are so many issues from that when they just up-resed everything and like changed certain things, and then like all the words and like the buildings and stuff like they made no sense because they started like messing around with that. And that in itself was such a disaster of a launch. I feel like this has really, really been bad for Square Enix for me.
Yeah, no, it's a disaster. Like I'm mixed on it, but like for the PlayStation and the Steam and supposedly Nintendo Switch is just, it's bad. But like again, and my first point, and I didn't really finish it. I can see why like an add-on for an actual game, I can see why that's like, oh, there's gonna be a second delay for an add-on for an Ultimate Edition. You know, I can see why a publisher might be like, no. It's like, put this out now. You know, it's kind of like, okay, can we meet in the middle? Because look at the Nintendo Switch one. They're like, even Square Enix was like, you know what? Good call. Not a Nintendo Switch one. The rest of them, put them out there. But I can see why a second delay might be like a hard sell for a publisher, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like obviously we're going to talk about in the BTS episode, and like you said, the outfit is like ordering, I don't know, like, you know, a plate of fries and like, you know, a plate of fries with like, you know, chili on it, and then they're saying, oh, we don't have the ranch dipping, we'll bring it over in 10 minutes, and at that point you've eaten all your fries.
Bring it over to you tomorrow.
Yeah, essentially, and essentially you've basically done everything. You're like, right, okay, I'm not going to really use this outfit now. Like, what's the point? Especially as you said, we know this game's being released, like it's a brand new game in terms of like, you know, first time ever coming out, BTS, and like, you know, that's.
Am I right on that? Hold on. Let me just fact check myself.
Yeah, double check it. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing something about an outfit and people being like, why is this outfit not accessing for me or something like that? So I think you are right. But whilst you've checked that, I do think like that's one of the many issues. I've seen some of the screen grabs from BTS as well, which is like some of the characters with the googly eyes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not finding anything specific about that, but yeah, I'm not finding anything specific. I'm just saying like, oh, get pre-order this and get the Crypts outfit, the zombie Crypt outfit, pre-order and get the zombie Crypt. I'm like, yeah, but like, is it delayed? Like, is it actually delayed? I don't know. And I can't find like,
I feel like we should leave it there though. You got it?
Zombie Crypt on. What if I just looked up on Twitter, because Twitter's going to be the one that tells me Zombie Crypt outfits, because Twitter's the one that's going to be like, hey man, why?
Has he found it?
Well, Don the Bomb, and I keep referencing him because he just keeps putting up news. I just realized they delayed the launch of the Zombie Crypt Chloe outfit. Wasn't even aware of that till I just saw a reply of one of my tweets. Any issue of the Life is Strange Remaster. So like somebody said that like somebody told them that it's delayed. So I guess because again, me and you haven't touched before the storm.
Yeah,
we don't know. Zombie Crypt outfits. Oh, it's from the comics. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, the Zombie Crypt outfit is from the comics. But yeah, apparently it's delayed. I don't know when. It doesn't say, but it is delayed.
We'll probably find out in the blog patch.
From Square Enix. Oh, here we go. This is from Square Enix itself. LifeIsStrange.com, Square Enix. So the pre-order for a Zombie Crypt Chloe outfit. We have become recently aware due to some last-minute issues that the pre-order bonus Zombie Crypt outfit for Chloe is missing from PlayStation and Stadia versions of Life is Strange Before the Storm Remastered. All customers who pre-ordered the game up until 8 a.m. PST on the day of launch will receive an outfit in... So for PlayStation, okay. Let me read that again. All customers who pre-ordered the game on the day of launch will receive an outfit DLC entitlements. once an upcoming patch is issued, and we stress your entitlement is not affected. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience for your first experience with the game. So I bet if I go into Xbox, it will be for me. I get the Zombie Crypt, and PlayStation and Stadia players are done.
Well, yeah, Stadia players should have been done a long time ago. But I feel like we should draw an end to the episode here, because I feel like obviously
leave with that little bonus.
Yeah, because obviously we will be back with a fun, entertaining episode for BTS, I'm sure, because we've only had one experience, and I imagine we'll probably loop in our Life is Strange 1.
Oh yeah,
Life is Strange 1 feedback in there, see how the full picture paints out. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. It's been long anticipated. I didn't think it'll be anywhere near as long as it has been, but obviously there's been so much to talk about. As we said before, if you are watching on YouTube, we are on podcast feeds. So we're on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts. We're on there, so you can listen to us via that. Or if you're on those podcast services, you can come to Player One versus the World and watch us on the video version. We have all, and we're going to continue to change. We will be changing on the recording feeds that we're going to do in the next couple of months, because this has been a bit of a disaster Zoom calls all we've been doing, which you'll probably see like there'll be some cuts, but it's just been one of those. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do let us know what you think of the Life is Strange 1 Remastered Collection. Are you enjoying it? Do you not like it? Are you mixed? Give us your thoughts. I always like to see other people's opinions. We will catch you in 2 weeks, and we will be there for BTS Remastered Collection. Until then, guys, take care.
See you.